Good morning. Actually, Anastasia, I said good morning, and I just realized that you used to hear that, and your kids would be like, "Oh, it was Whitney who would say her family was so sick of hearing good morning because she was doing the editing."
Oh,
But she
yeah,
said,
it was Whitney.
"Good morning. It's Ann Brennan with
Uh,
Small Business Connections." But it's not ASMM Small Business Connections anymore. It's Marketing Moms. So, and I'm Ann Brennan, and this is
Anastasia Van Gresheby?
and we are here to help you market your business. And we're trying to do it in a way that's simple. We want it to be marketing made easy, marketing that you can put to work in your business without having to go and get a PhD in marketing, right? We want you to give you something that you can take away every single time. That's our goal. So, I want to remind you that you can ask questions. We love to hear them. If you leave them in the comments, we will get back to you. If sometimes we'll get back to you in the middle of the show, sometimes it'll be after, sometimes it's Whitney that's getting back to you, but one of us will get back to you and give you an answer to your question. So please do. We want to, have those questions asked. We want to be able to answer them. Sometimes we may even create a show specifically for your questions. So if you got a good one, let us know. Um, also, also, we're going to talk about the dog today because we're catching up. And I know. So I wanted to talk to you, Luna. I started these reels, and honestly, I started a TikTok page for Luna because I wanted to test out TikTok and see what to think about it and see how hard it is because a lot of people were like, "Oh, how do I get on TikTok?" And it's not easy to make these videos. They make them, it looks really simple. It's 1 minute, 30 seconds, and it looks so simple, but there's a lot of work behind it. So I kind of wanted to get that going a little bit for her. But you could put these little voices behind your people. So I need your naughty Luna. You always say, naughty Luna.
Naughty Luna. I know, she's very naughty. I
And I'm
I
gonna have to record it specifically for that video.
yeah.
So
Oh
you
my
came in the
goodness.
office this morning. I will tell you, on Friday, I didn't want to put her in her crate because she had been in there for a little while, quite a while, and I'd been working and I had a call at 4 o'clock. And so I actually put her on the leash and I put her right beside me, but then she's pulling away from me and I'm like going like this while I'm trying to talk on Zoom, right? I'm bent halfway bent over. So I let go and she jumped from my couch to my chair, to my couch to my chair, back and forth over and over again. Then she pulled what you see on the floor is she pulled some books off the shelf. I went over to get the books and apparently she found a bookmark. So that's torn up all over the floor. She's just a mess. So we're definitely going to have to do doggy daycare for Miss Luna.
I feel bad. I mean, she's super cute, but I mean, I just don't know because she's so young still. I'm like, is
Yes,
she
yeah.
is it gonna get worse? And the thing is because she's bigger than most full-size dogs, like big
Right.
dogs,
Yeah, she's
it's
a
like
big dog
she's
at 4
huge.
months, she's a big dog, yeah,
I have
yeah,
a 6-year-old lab, and she is bigger than her by a
yes,
lot. She's probably at
by a
least
lot,
10 pounds, by at least 10 pounds heavier and taller,
exactly.
a few inches taller. I mean, and then she's so sweet and little, and you look at her and she's a little puppy. Like you can tell that she's a puppy. It's just that she's not,
Yes, because 'cause
a
she's got a
cradle. You
yeah, so
can't
she's got a
cradle.
wrinkly
Yeah,
face,
she's
so
very cute, but
she's a mess.
she is naughty. And hopefully
Naughty Luna.
she calms down a little bit, but I'm like I was trying to think I was thinking about it earlier today, and trying to think back to when because my lab is very quiet and she just goes around the house and she likes to lay down. She'll go outside and play and go for a walk and stuff, but she really doesn't want to do it for too long.
Right.
And I was like, when did she stop like chewing stuff? Because she used to chew shoes. In particular, Tony, our assistant here, her daughter was at my house a lot when we had Melly as a puppy. And Melly always chewed Haley's shoes. It was only Haley's shoes.
Oh.
So poor
Oh,
Haley.
that's horrible, yes.
So
Well,
we had to put
yeah.
Haley would walk in and take her shoes and put them up high where Melly couldn't reach them. And so, but, and then the trash cans in the bathroom, I had to get ones with lids. And after that,
Yeah.
no problem. But
Yeah, and honestly, Rocky has been good for a very long time. So I think
yeah.
it's really this baby. time, and we are doing training, so we'll get there, but oh my
It'll get
gosh.
there. It's just a matter of getting to that point. Yeah, Rocky, I
Ex
mean, I've known you now over 4 years. What is it? It's
Yeah.
4 years, right? Over
Yeah.
4 years, and he's been good the whole time. Like, I mean, apart from,
Yeah.
like, trying to steal food. I mean, he is a food thief, but as long
He
as
is a
you
thief.
know that you cannot keep your sandwich in front of you when he is walking around,
Right,
or no,
exactly.
you can have it in front of you because you can protect it, but you can't get up
Right. Yeah, if you're
because
gonna
he
get up,
will
you have to
steal it.
put it on somebody else's desk and say, "Watch my
Yeah, remember
sandwich."
I remember used to be like, "Here, watch my sandwich.
Watch my
I
sandwich, I'll
gotta
be
go."
right back. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
All
Luna
right.
will get there.
So, actually, a little bit of what we're doing right now is creating content, right?
Yes.
Yes, the show is
Mhm,
creating content, but the conversations we have are content. It helps us people to
mhm,
know who we are. So, today, that's what we're talking about is content management. And I want to say this. Yes, content is, we're going to talk about exactly what makes content, but we're also going to talk about management because people don't think of the management end of it, which is why people don't do their social media themselves. It's why they don't do their content themselves because they don't think of it as management. And so they don't have a plan. So we're going to help you today come up with a way, or actually, your action item is going to be creating a plan. And we're going to tell you how to do that. So stick around. This is a really good episode. But we're going to talk about something you're going to think, oh, this is a rerun from last week. And it's not. But we're going to talk about goals. You have to start with a goal. What is your goal for your content, right? Anastasia, some of the goals we talked about last week, people have these unrealistic goals that they're going to get 1,000 followers or they're going to have tons
mhm.
of people buying their products. But that's not necessarily how it works just on social media. If you want people to buy your product, you have to have a real plan for how are you going to get them there. And that starts with the content that you're putting out. And it finishes with the follow-up you have, because I could put a ton of great content out there, but if people are messaging me and I'm not responding to them, I'm getting nothing, right?
Exactly. Mhm. It's like
Exactly.
putting your phone number out there and not answering the phone.
Right. Which we actually had a client a few years ago who did that. And that was the number one complaint from other people. And we finally said, This makes no sense. You're doing all this social media, you got all this stuff, these phone calls coming in, and you're not answering the phone. So it's not doing you any good. And they actually had recordings going on. So they did figure that out, that they had a specific person who was not answering their phone. So do pay attention. What are your goals? What is your plan? And how are you going to respond as that business is coming in? So, you used a word, I said be strategic about your plan, but there was something else you said, not realistic, but be strategic, have a plan for what you're going to do and think about it from start to finish,
Mhm.
right? So
Yes.
what are some of the things that you think that you have to think about when it comes to that?
I think that there are multiple things that you need to think about, when you're creating content. So I wanna explain what content is real quick. Content is anything that you're putting out there, right? So when you're like what we're doing right now, like you said, this is content. This is content for ASMM. So this is a podcast. This is also a video that goes on our website. And from this, we're going to put out social media posts, and potentially it might go in the newsletter, in the email. So this is content that we're putting out there. So blogs are content, podcasts, videos. If you write a book, wrote a book about running years ago. That is content. And then we'll talk a little bit later about how to repurpose it. But that's the content. So when we're talking about having a plan, I'm going to use an example. We have a roofing company who they do roofing and siding and windows and doors and gutters, right? So they have all these services. So when we're creating content for them, regardless of the platform that we're using to distribute the content, we're thinking about educating their people about promoting certain items. The goal overall is to increase sales, right? So, and to build the community. So it's not just about increasing sales. We're trying to build the brand, to get the brand the recognition and the trust from the people, so that when it's time for them, because like for instance, I bought my house 10 years ago. It had a brand new roof on it. I don't need a roof right now, but
Right. Right.
In 10 years, I probably will. So, it's building that relationship with those other people, that aren't ready to buy right now, because this is a big ticket item, that you're going to, just have content going out there. So there you're educating your people. So for this particular company, what are we thinking about? You've got to think about what is the most profitable.
There you
What's your
go.
bread
That
and
was one of
butter?
the things I
It is
wanted to get to.
very,
Yeah.
very important. You have to know what your most profitable product is. So for this the roofing company, it's the roof. Yeah, the windows and the siding and the gutters, they're all great things to have, and they're bringing in money, but that big ticket roof is where they're gonna make the most money. So when we're doing content for them, we're more likely to more heavily promote the roofing, because that's what they want, um, to see. Now,
Right.
if they're doing, like, I don't know, replacing doorknobs, where they're getting $50 maybe out of it, that's not gonna be, you're not gonna promote that very often,
Right.
because
Exactly.
that's not value to the company. I mean, you might put a post out
Exactly.
there every now and then, but so that's what we're talking about in the plan, like being strategic, knowing here are the services that we have, what are the most profit, and knowing the profit margins of everything. When we bring on a new client, we will ask them, what is your most profitable? We are in the process of onboarding an insurance company right now, and that was the question. It was flat out, where do you make your money? On
Right.
commercial or on home policies? Because we need to know that, and not just profitability. What do you enjoy doing?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
if you don't enjoy doing those high ticket, commercial policies, then, like, what are we in this for? Like,
Exactly.
you need, because you want to make money, but you want to enjoy the journey. So
Exactly.
that is also what you need to think about.
Right. Exactly. So one of the things that as you were saying that I was thinking about is sometimes it's not necessarily your biggest ticket item that you really have to be concerned about. And yes, a lot of times it is, but sometimes it's not. And I'm thinking about estheticians.
Mhm.
Estheticians, the way they get women to come in and do the bigger ticket items is by getting them to come in to wax their brows. If they do the
Mm.
brow wax, first of all, they can do a bunch of them in an hour, so they can schedule a bunch of them at one time. But in addition to that, they can upsell. So going back, we used last week the running shoe store. Running shoes are not where a running shoe store makes their money. They make them on the bra, but the bras don't bring women in the door. They don't bring people in the door. The shoes bring people in the door. Once they get them there, they sell them the shoes, selling the socks and the bras and the clothing where their actual money is coming from. That can happen. So you need to think really strategically, how am I getting them in here? What brings them in the door? What's most profitable? And how am I what's that funnel going to look like? Right?
Mhm.
So really strategy is huge. And sometimes you do have to talk to somebody. A lot of times you do have to talk to somebody, but the truth is, as a small business owner, you probably know this. If you don't, have a conversation with a marketing company. If you're not sure, if you're like, I think I do, but maybe they're going to see something differently. And there are times that we see something different than the business owner. And they go, oh, you're right. That's why they call me. That they call me for this, but they buy this. That's,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
The same with restaurants, right? So we have restaurants, we're promoting their food. Their food isn't where they're making their money. The
Right.
drinks are where they're making their money.
Right. Exactly.
So it is, you're right. It's not necessarily about promoting the the most profitable items. It's about knowing, excuse me, having that strategy and knowing where your profit margins are. But look, yes, if you're, like, we have Mexican restaurant, we do promote their margaritas quite a bit. So
Yes.
because some people will go in specifically for a margarita, but even the sodas make money for a restaurant, but we're not promoting those things. So
Right.
it is, it's how are you going to get them in the door, and then, like you said, upsell them.
Exactly, exactly, but you have to know how to do that, and that's where your sales and marketing teams have to work together, right? You need to
Hmm.
know, my marketing team's gonna bring me this, and this is how I'm gonna take it to the next level, right? This is why they're doing it, this is what their plan is, and this is how I'm gonna take it to the next level. So definitely have everybody working together on this. Also, plan ahead how to repurpose. A lot of times we'll get people come to us just for social media. That's it. We want you to do our social media marketing, and that's it. Our favorite clients are the ones that come to us and they do blogs and they do newsletters. And I say, hey, let's do some videos, and they do those, and they're willing to create more content. So, because that allows you to repurpose, and it's much harder to repurpose a social media campaign than it is to start with something big and pare it down and pare it down and pare it down. So we're going to go really quickly through this because it doesn't need to be that long today. Um, Podcast is how we started with our whole funnel. What we do, we've got the podcast, we put it out there. We can create lots of little pieces of content by taking the banner and just talking about this particular banner, and then we switch to this banner videos, and now we're going to take that and we're going to pull it apart. So maybe one of these podcasts could be 30 different pieces of content, just video wise, right? Just audio wise and video wise, we can put that out there. And we can say, gosh, that was a really great topic. We talked about that. And, or Whitney or somebody, write it up. Let's use it as a blog. Let's put it out there as a blog as well, because they're going to want to see this in written form. So now I've repurposed it. I've had it as a podcast. I've had it as videos. Now we have it as blogs. In addition, you can make it longer. Think about The Power of Habits, that book. I have to tell you, I'm not its biggest fan because it started as a magazine article, and then they turned it into a book. So I feel like it's too long for a book because they just kind of added words. But you can do that, or you can take a book and do the same things that I was just talking about, pare it down, create a podcast about a chapter of the book, create a video about a chapter of a book, create blogs about the chapters of the books. So think about, how are you going to take all this stuff and mix it together to work together and create more content? Because then you're going to take that stuff and create email marketing with it and social media campaigns. So think about that repurposing. And that's where a marketing company really is going to come in handy for you, right?
Yeah.
Having one of us, that's where, don't you think that's where our power comes in, Anastasia?
I think so. But I think that when people don't understand, when you're repurposing, it's not that you're like recycling. When you're
Right.
repurposing, you're taking content that is good, messaging that is good, and you are taking it to reach people where they are. Because
Absolutely.
not everybody is doing all the things that we just mentioned. Some people aren't, I mean, a lot of people are on social media, obviously, they, but it's amazing how many people I talk to that don't listen to podcasts. I love podcasts. I
Right.
consume them all the time. You, we listen to
I,
music in the car, but for the most part, it's podcasts, even the kids.
it's
Like,
funny because I think when people say they don't listen to podcasts, I'm like, well, what do you do when you're in the car? Like,
I know,
and then when
right?
you said music, I'm like, oh, I guess you do listen to music
I
in the
forgot
car.
about that. This weekend, Athena was playing a podcast, a playlist. Because we usually we've been listening to Office Ladies for a long time, but it's she and I listen to it together. So we have to be in the car together to listen to it, and those episodes are over an hour. So for the most
Right.
part, we don't. So we're very behind on our listening. But on Saturday, she got in the car and she put on a playlist. I guess she was sick of listening to the podcast. But so there's that. There's people that like to read blogs. Like, I am not a blog. That's not how I consume things. I like to listen.
Right.
I listen to books. I listen to podcasts. Videos on social media. I'm not huge on those, but some people really like them. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about repurposing. You're just reaching people where they are and
Absolutely.
where they like to consume things. So you're getting your message across to everybody. So yeah, it's very effective. It's more effective. I mean, I think you're right. This is where having an agency take care of it makes sense.
Right.
Because
Or
it
at
is
least
time
plan it
consuming.
out for you, right? Help you
Yeah.
plan it out, because it is really hard for people to understand how they do it. The other thing is batching, right? That you don't necessarily understand how to batch everything so that it works together. So I'm going to create a bunch of blogs at one time. I'm going to create a bunch of videos at one time. I'm going to create a bunch of podcast episodes at one time, right? So having a marketing agency is very helpful. You can do it on your own. but you do have to have a good plan. And so at the very least, I would suggest talking to somebody in marketing to help you create that plan. Really know what you're doing.
It's really understanding marketing, right? Like this is something that we love to do. This is where we get excited about putting out
Yes.
about creating content. I created a bunch of content last weekend when I was at my daughter's volleyball tournament because I had a lot of downtime in between. So I was like, oh, and it was exciting to me. Like I got through a bunch of clients and I was like, oh, like I like the stuff that I made,
Right.
whereas you put me in the like when we have a bookkeeper and every time she emails me looking for something, I'm happy to help her because I don't want to do it. That's what she's good at, and that's probably what excites her. So
Right.
one of my good
Exactly.
friends is in finance and accounting, and she's just started a new job, and she was telling me about it, and I could see the excitement in her, and I was like, she was talking about forecasting and all these things, and I'm like, oh, like
You're
I'm
like,
really
that's
excited for
not my
you, like
thing.
and when she was talking about having processes and things like that, that did excite me. I was like, "Oh, I wonder what the processes are gonna be like." I do kinda like that,
Right.
but when she was talking about forecasting and cutting costs and stuff like that, I'm like, "Yeah, you lost me." So
Exactly.
it depends on your strength. So if you as a business owner like to do the marketing, then yes, if you have the time and you can sit down and plan it and so forth, go ahead. But if you're not good at that, if you're and you don't enjoy it, well, actually, especially if you don't enjoy it, it's gonna come across.
Right, exactly, exactly. So
Um,
at least get some advice. It would be great to hire somebody who does it for you, but at the very least get some advice, right?
yes.
At the very
Mhm.
least get some advice. I also want to, and we only have a short amount of time left here, so I want to talk about real quick paying attention to your insights. And by that, I don't mean how many people are following you. We mean which pieces are doing well, right? That's one of the first things. And we talked about that before we got on here, that Stephen King says sometimes you got to kill your little darlings, right? And by that he means sometimes there's a turn of phrase you have when you're writing that you're like you love, but it's really gunking up the works. And we'll have clients who are like, I really want this piece to go out there, and you're like, that's not the piece that's going to get you anything. So let's pay
Mhm.
attention. So if you pay attention to the pieces that are doing well, you'll find out, oh, well, people really like this, or maybe they like the videos. Or gosh, the videos aren't doing very well at all, but the blogs are doing great. Or maybe it's the funny things that are doing great. Or maybe you think the funny things are going to do great and your whole audience has no sense of humor. They don't care. They're just all
Mhm.
business. They want to do the business stuff, right? So pay attention to what pieces are doing well. And that's all of your pieces, that not just social media, but your podcast, your videos, your blogs, all of it. What pieces are doing well? Okay. Because you don't want to keep pushing something that's not doing well. That makes no sense.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
And if it is
uh,
doing well, you could put some money behind it if you're on social. If it's something on social
yeah,
that's doing well, even if you don't like it, as long as it's getting the point across and it's and you can see the interaction and you can see that people are enjoying it, that's the one to boost. Because
absolutely.
that's the one that already, if you know organically it's doing well, then it's probably going to do even better um, boosted.
Absolutely. And actually go back to that. If you have, say a book, you've written a book, right? Or that's really a here, download my book here. So, and that you're like, oh my God, everybody's downloading that thing. Maybe print it at that point and put it out as a hardback as well, or an actual in your hand book. And then think about taking that as presentations. Can I present this in places where I'm going to reach the same people and get their attention? So really think it through. How can I take what's already doing well and do better? Right?
Yeah.
And then who's interacting with you? Pay attention to that, because you may be putting out a lot of content for men because that's who you think your target audience is, and it's hitting women. Well, if the people who are buying are men, then hitting women's not doing you any good. But if you think that your target audience is men and women are who's coming in and buying, and that's who you need to be seeing the content, maybe start creating content for the women. And that's just an example. So pay attention to who is interacting with your pieces as well. This was quick. I thought this was pretty quick, but we do have an action item, and this is Anastasia's strong suit. So, Anastasia, talk a little bit about how you can use a spreadsheet to create a content management ideas, right?
Yeah. So I like this when I sit down. So we each kind of have our own method when we're creating content for clients. I like a plan. I like to sit down and, for instance, we'll go if you are a service industry in the service industry and you have services, for us, what, I'll use ASMM as an example, and we offer social media marketing, website design, email marketing, reputation management, um, oh, drawing a blank. Okay, we have those 5 things.
So many
So
things, websites.
so many things.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. So many things. We have so many things. So we have those 5. Say we're gonna go with those 5 things. You know, I like to break it down, even further. So I'll have those 5 topics, then I'll like break down like individual things. So when I'm creating content, I like to say, okay, I need 30 pieces of content and I have 5 topics. It doesn't necessarily mean that I want, because like reputation management, that's great, but I really only need like maybe 2 or 3 of those 30 posts to be about that. So then,
right,
social media is where we do the majority of our work is in social media. So I would say a good chunk of those posts are going to be about social media. And then we do websites. We don't do a ton of websites every year, but it's something that we'd actually like to increase. So we're going to do a few more of those. And the email marketing as well. So I like to like plan it out and have, you know, what each separate into topics and then break it down even further. So what are you trying to say to your audience? What do you want?
right,
What's the end goal? So and then it's like making sure that the content that you're creating is not all sell, that you want to
right,
have things that are educational, like here are my give things and here are my sell things. So that
right.
way you can because just by educating, that sells people as well. So
Absolutely.
that's how I do it. That's how I like to do it. I like to plan it, sit down, plan everything, make sure that the topics that I wanted to hit are hit, and then what is the tone that I'm trying to achieve with them.
Absolutely. And a good example, we were using this earlier, we're talking about our PT company that we work with. They're very seasonal, right? They're
Hmm.
very, very seasonal. So when we plan for them, it's not going to be for us. It's the same thing year in, year out. We're doing the same thing. Nothing changes
Yes.
by the season. But in PT, in January, people are shoveling. You got to have blog posts about shoveling. You got to have things about skiing. You got to have things about slipping and falling, right? And how to be careful and how to recover from a slip and fall. Those sorts of things. In the spring, you're going to have more lacrosse injuries. You're going to have
Yeah.
more track and field injuries. You're going to have more people who are beginning to train. Actually, you get a lot of people who are doing couch to 5K, right?
Hmm.
In the summertime, you're gonna have people who are starting to train for their marathons in the fall. So you really have to think, okay, what does that calendar look like? What's that
Hmm.
year look like? And how are we going to put it out there in a way that's going to reach them, not just sell them, but help them and grab their attention and make them want to become a part of who we are. So that's
Yeah.
huge. So start now with a spreadsheet. Think about how you're going to divide it, how those posts are going to go up, and how you're going to make it look. All right, real quick before we go, I want to remind you that if you go over to the blog, you're going to get all kinds of different information. This week actually kind of goes hand in hand in content management, capturing better media with your smartphone, capturing better video, and capturing better photos with your smartphone. If you go over there and look at that blog now, you're going to get really good ideas about that. And then next week, we're going to talk about pain points. And these are not the pains you're having. So I had a client, I asked, what are your pain points? And he says, I'm not making enough money. And I said, no, not your pain points. So what are the pain points you're solving for your customers? So we're going to talk about that next week. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're enjoying this. If you're not, please let us know. Privately, I would prefer. If you're not, message me and let me know that you're not enjoying this. If you are, publicly tell us how much you love us. Leave us a review or leave us a comment or tell us at the next BNI meeting so that everybody hears it and knows we're kicking butt over here and taking names at the ASMM Marketing Moms podcast. So I hope you're doing well. You guys take care of yourself. We'll see you next week.